On this edition of Daditude BBQ and More, we're going to do smoked spare ribs. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Daditude BBQ and More. Daditude BBQ and More.
Welcome back to Daditude BBQ and More. It's been way too long since we did a video on this channel. Once again, it's been about 4 months, and I'm so excited today to do smoked spare ribs for you. But before I get started, you know what to do. That's right. You slap that bell and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos. And please make sure you share this video with everyone so we can get the word out on how to be a good cook at home. Before I get started today, I do want to give a shout out to a few people. I want to give a shout out to Sleepy. I want to give a shout out to The Boss. I want to give a shout out to Salad Tongs. And I also want to give a shout out to Slim Shady today. You know who you are. And so I appreciate you all watching the video today. And let's get started cooking because you know what the motto of this channel is. We're going to cut the flab and get straight to the meat. So what we have, I have two full-size spare ribs. Now, in the past, I think I have done a video on baby back ribs on this channel. Baby back and spare ribs they all come from the pig, obviously, and they all are pork. They're just a different cut. This comes more from the belly area, and obviously the baby back ribs come from the upper rib area. You may see these called St. Louis style ribs. You may see them called Kansas City style ribs. It's a little bit of a fattier cut on these ribs than on baby back, and it will take just a little bit longer to cook these. So today I'm going to be smoking these at about 225 degrees. We're going to do probably a 5 or a 6 hour smoke on these, depending on how it looks after about 3 hours. I'm going to pull them off after 3 hours. I'm going to wrap them up, show you how to do that, and then we're going to put them back on, let them smoke a little bit more, take them back off, sauce them up, and then put them back in for about an hour. And they should be good to go. So I'm super excited today to share with you how to do this. This is a very, very easy recipe. It's much like the baby back rib setup. What I like to do first is I like to season the backside first and get that going. And you can see it's a little fattier on the backside as well. So we'll turn both of these over. And the first thing I'm going to do is pull out the olive oil. And I told you on, I think, one of the last videos I did that I use only olive oil that comes straight from Italy. I know we can buy olive oil, organic, extra virgin olive oil from other sources. They come from Portugal and Spain and places like that. I just prefer to use the real thing from Italy. Totally up to you, your choice. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour a little coating of olive oil on the back sides of these. And then I'm just going to rub them in, get them nice, lathered up with this olive oil. And then all I'm going to do is season these. Now, I use my own special Daditude seasoning. You can use any seasoning you want, but you definitely want to have a salt and pepper mix in your seasoning. Some people just like to do that, salt and pepper. Other people like to add a little sugar, maybe some brown sugar, things like that. But I'm going with a no sugar Daditude seasoning today. And you can see I like to apply it liberally on the back side. You want to make sure you get everything on there. So you want to coat it nicely. Now, what I would typically do with these, if I wasn't doing a video, is I would let these sit on each side for probably at least 15 minutes, but I would probably say more along the lines of 30 minutes per side. What that does is allow the seasoning to bind to the meat. It also allows the meat to sweat out a little bit. For this video purpose, I am not going to wait for 15 or 30 minutes. I'm just going to flip them over and do the front side. I will then wait for about 30 minutes before I put them on. I'll show you what they look like before they go on today. And I will be smoking these on the Pit Boss 1600 Pro Series smoker. If you have a Traeger or another brand, that's fine. You just want to set it at about 225. You want these to cook slow and low. That's the way I look at it. So like I said, I'm going to flip these back over. I normally wouldn't do it this quick, but because we're doing a video today, want to make sure that you see the full view of what we're doing. We're going to lather these on the front side now with some olive oil. And then we're just going to season these up just like we did on the back side. And we're just going to take this and we're going to apply this liberally again to the front. And again, you can use any seasoning you want. It's totally up to you on your personal preference. Now, one thing I do want to say, especially when I did the baby back ribs, you definitely want to get the sides as well. Now on these, they don't have quite as much side to cover, but you definitely want to hit up the sides a little bit too. Give a little dash of that. And really, that's it. And then I'm just, like I said, I'm going to sit this here and let this sit for about 30 minutes. When I come back, I'll show you how the seasonings have binded onto this. Also, on a previous video, I actually showed how to take the membrane, which is on the back here, off of the baby back rib. And you could do that here as well. But I have recently just kind of learned that the membrane is where a lot of the collagen is. And that is good for the joints and the bones in the body. So I tend to leave that on now instead of taking the membrane off. But again, it's totally up to you. Taking the membrane off the ribs typically tenders them up just a little bit more, makes them more fall off the bone. But you'll see even after this is over today that these will be extremely tender and falling off the bone. So we're going to let these sit for about 30 minutes, and then I will be back and show you what they look like before we stick them on the smoker today. See you soon. All right, we're back after about 30 minutes, and I wanted to give you a close-up view of how the meat looks after the 30 minutes of waiting after we seasoned it. You can see that the meat is sweating out very good. The seasoning has definitely binded onto the meat on both of these. We can see that as we go up close and personal to the spare ribs. And I am getting ready to put these on the smoker. And again, I'm going to smoke these up for about 3 hours. And then I'm going to take them off and I'm going to show you how I wrap those up and what I do in that process. I'll see you soon. All right, I have taken the ribs off the smoker after the initial 3-hour smoke. And you can see how nice these look on both of those. It has done a really good job on smoking these up. And I'm going to go ahead now and we're going to do a wrap here in just a second so I can show you how that looks. And we're going to put them back on the smoker for about an hour and a half. All right, welcome back. And as I said, I took the ribs off the smoker just a little bit ago. And we're going to now wrap the ribs. And I'm going to show you how I do that because it is awesome how it turns out after we unwrap those in about an hour and a half. The first thing I do is I take some pads of butter that I have already pre-cut. And I lay those out in a nice orderly pattern here. I usually put about 4 or 5 on the foil. And then I'm going to move over to this foil and do the same thing. And then after we get the butter put down and spaced out correctly, then I'm going to take some brown sugar. I'm going to spread the brown sugar around a little bit. Get enough on there so you get a nice little sweetness going on. As I said, my seasoning is does not have sugar in it, so this gives it a little bit of kick on the sugar because I know some people like that. So we're just going to spread out the brown sugar. Get it all out there. All right, and then the last thing is to put some sauce down on these. So I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to pour it on there. I'm going to be liberal about it, obviously. And we're going to do the same thing to this one. And from there, the rest of it's relatively easy. I'm going to go ahead and put on my gloves. And we're going to go ahead and put the the ribs right on here upside down. So I'm going to go ahead and pull one off. So here is a rib, and we're going to flip it upside down. We're going to put it on there just like that. And then I'm going to get the other rib, do the same thing here. Now I have one thing that I did want to mention is I do use heavy duty aluminum foil, and I usually use, as you can see, I do 2-ply, so I do 2 layers of that just in case, so it doesn't break through and there's no leakage. So 2 pieces of heavy duty aluminum foil anytime we wrap. And then from there, it's just a simple wrap. Now, if I need more aluminum foil to wrap, I can always get some more. For right now, I'm just going to wrap this one up. You see how easy it is. Now, you notice it popped through just a little bit here. That's why we do the double layer. So we're going to go this, and then we're just going to fold it up like so. And then we're going to do it again. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other one here in just a second. I just wanted you to see how tightly I actually wrap these up. I get them a nice tight wrap. And this one is finished and ready to go back out on the grill. We're going to do the same thing to this one. Now you notice I do have a little bit of a bone right here sticking out, so I do have to be careful. Matter of fact, look at that. I just pulled it right out. You can see how tender these are. So I pulled out the bone so it doesn't stick through. And then, once again, just an easy wrap. Fold this up nice and tight, and we'll fold this one up nice and tight. And now we have 2 racks of spare ribs ready to go back on the smoker. I'm going to keep these on there for about an hour and a half, and it should tenderize these up really well. I'm going to pull them back off. We're going to sauce them back up, and then we're going to put them on the grill for about 45 minutes to an hour to get that sauce caramelized on there. And then it'll be ready for a taste test and ready to eat. That's my favorite part, and I know it's your favorite part as well. So I'll put these on the grill, and I'll see you soon. All right, guys, I have taken the ribs off the smoker. I've unwrapped them, and look how beautiful these things have turned out. Perfectly cooked so far, and just as I predicted, they have become so tender that the meat has actually shrunk away from the bone, so the bone will just fall off. I actually had a little bit of that problem over here when I was unwrapping them. There was like falling apart, which was crazy. I ended up pouring the residue of the butter, brown sugar, and sauce mixture that was still in the foil back over top of these guys. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to sauce these suckers up, and we're going to put them back in the smoker for about 45 minutes to an hour. So I'll be right back. All right, welcome back, and look at these ribs. I showed you a close-up just a little bit ago. These things have turned out fantastic. I don't always smoke spare ribs. I usually do baby back ribs, but I might have to do these more often. These are pretty awesome. I know the question will be, where do I get this? Again, I usually get most of my meats either at Costco or Sam's Club. I actually got this 2-pack at Sam's Club, I think for like $23 total, which is such a bargain. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to sauce these things up. We're going to put them back in the smoker for about 45 minutes to an hour. And then we're going to pull them off, let them rest for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we're going to take a taste test. That's my favorite part, as you know. Again, you can use any sauce you like. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. You've noticed that I have lined 2 baking sheets. I like to put the baking sheets in the smoker, not put these back right on the grill grates, mostly because they're so fall off the bone, they're so tender, that if you try to handle them too much, they're just going to fall apart, which is great when you're eating them, but not so great when you have to put them back on the grill. So I put them on baking sheets, cover them with the heavy-duty aluminum foil, and go from there. So we're going to finish up this bottle of sauce on this one. We're going to brush it on. I also wanted to make note that I did bump the temperature up on the Pit Boss smoker to 280. I was smoking it at 225, as you remember. I'm doing that so the sauce can caramelize a little bit better. If you want to bump it up even higher, say even to 300, 325, you can do that. And then I'm just going to brush this sauce on. And from there, that's basically it. I want to get it nice and liberally coated on the ribs, making sure that we don't miss any spots. And I like it. I like it thick on there. I really do. I think it caramelizes up so much better when you put the sauce on a little thicker. And so we're going to go from here. We're going to make sure we get the back sides here and the sides, of course. And so rack number 1 finished. We move on to this one. And you can see, I mean, this is great. This has been a very easy cook. So if you have a smoker at home and you haven't tried ribs yet, maybe you just got a smoker, I don't know. But if you just got a smoker, you have to try ribs, either the baby back version or the spare ribs. And like I said, I did a baby back version probably, I don't know, probably a little over maybe a year and a half ago on this channel. I might update that soon and just redo a video like that, but I know it's on this channel, so if you want to do baby backs, check that out. If you want to try the spare ribs, check that out. Now, look, it's all finished. And it's ready to go back on the smoker, that easy. Again, 45 minutes to an hour. I bumped it up to 280 degrees. I'm going to pull those off in about, like I said, 45 minutes to an hour. And then I'm going to let them rest for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so, and then we're going to turn it back on and take a taste test. Be back soon. Well, guys, I wanted to give you a preview before we cut into these. I'm going to let these rest for about 15 minutes, but I literally just took these off the smoker, and look at how nice the sauce caramelized. And then on this one over here, it just looks amazing. Look at that. This was the absolute perfect smoke. So I'm going to let these rest for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to cut into one of them and give it a taste test and see how it goes. All right, welcome back. It's been 15 minutes since I pulled these off the smoker. I gave you an up-close and personal view of these. As soon as I pulled them off, they look fantastic. I cannot wait to try them. Before I do cut into them, I do want to remind you again to make sure you slap that bell and hit the subscribe button and share this video with as many people as you can. And I also want you to be reminded to also turn on your notifications, so that way you will never miss any of the videos that I put out that will help you be a chef in the kitchen. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and just look. First of all, I want to show you this. Look at how the bone just comes right out. I mean, that's unbelievable. And that's how tender these things are. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut off just a little slice. Look at that. That is like so juicy. I'm going to put it up to the camera. My goodness, look at that. That's amazing. And now, the moment of truth. And I can already tell you it's going to taste fantastic. So, Oh, listen, it's buttery. It's sweet. It has that brown sugar butter taste to it, along with that barbecue sauce. That is amazing. And like I said, I usually do not do spare ribs. I usually do baby backs, but I think that I'm going to have to start doing spare ribs after this. This was an absolutely easy cook. Took roughly about 5 hours, and I highly recommend spare ribs on the smoker. So that just about does it for this episode of Daditude BBQ and More. I hope you learned something today. I hope you enjoyed the show. And most of all, I hope you do try to make something like this. I would love, if you end up making spare ribs or even baby back ribs, to share that in the comments and maybe show some pictures of that as well. I would love to know that people are trying these recipes out and becoming a chef in the kitchen. So until next time, this is Daditude. See you later.
Daditude BBQ. He's the grilling dude. Daditude BBQ. You know how we do. Let it burn, smoking meats on that smoker grill. Clouds in the sky, you can smell of flavor in the air. Daditude.